Okay, good evening, everyone. I know some of you are still joining us, so thank you so much for coming. This is our San Diego Union High School District College Application Webinar Series, and this is the first webinar, first topic in the series. So we thank you all for joining us, and we hope the information we share with you tonight is important and valuable as you either are the student who's going through your college application search and process, or you are the parent or guardian supporting your child through this process. So next slide, please, Joel. As we introduce our presenters, I just wanted to share a few points of interest for you. You see on the slide our college application virtual webinar series flyer. You all should have received that in order to register for this. So as you can see, we have 5 more topics coming up in the next few months. Your schools and our district has shared this information through Parent Square. So please feel free to register for any of the other upcoming series. Our next one is in a few weeks on September 17th, and we're focusing on applying to out-of-state colleges and private college campuses. So University of Utah and USC, University of Southern California, will be co-presenting with us on that one. Next slide. And tonight's presentation is recorded. So if you or your friend or you want to watch this over again, want to refer to this later, the recordings will be posted in quite a few places. They'll be on all the high school counseling websites. They'll be on our college and career events website and our district college and career website. We will also email them out to you through Parent Square. So we want to make sure you have access to all of those. We still also on our website have our last fall's webinars posted if you want to refer to anything. However, caution, every year things change differently, pretty drastically through college admissions. So you want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information when you're applying for that school year. And tonight we will be using the Q&A feature. So if you have any questions as the presenters are talking, general questions or questions specific to CSU San Marcos or UC San Diego, please put those in the Q&A. We will do our best to answer all of them. There's a lot of you tonight, so some of the questions we will pull out and review at the end of the webinar and say it out loud and talk it through with our presenters. So please use the Q&A feature and we will hopefully get to you as soon as we can. Next slide, please. So tonight we want to introduce our presenters. We are excited to have Mary Jane Chin with us from UC San Diego. She's presented the past few years. And Rosa Barr Williams from Cal State San Marcos. She's also presented with us before. Those 2 campuses are in our service areas for those programs. So we're really happy that they're our partners and we're so fortunate to work with them because they are such great resources and they provide such meaningful information for our students. And they really do look out for our students in this whole process. So thank you both for being here. We also have Chanel Larry, head counselor at Torrey Pines High School, and she's going to co-present with me and kind of frame the conversation for tonight. So thank you for being here, Chanel. And then myself, I'm Jamie Cambra. I'm our counselor and special assignment for our District of College and Career Readiness. So I support all of our college and career programming and assist all of our high schools and middle schools with that post-secondary planning piece. So I'm excited to be here as well. Next slide, please. So to kick this off, we're going to have Chanel share some information about the UC system, and then she will pass it on over to Mary Jane.
Thank you, Jamie. My video is not working at the moment. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We can hear you, so you're
okay.
good.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide. So for the University of California system, we are fortunate to have such a robust public university system in the state of California. And many of our students, our seniors this year, have already started working on their applications. If not, they are about to embark on that journey. But there are 9 campuses across the state of California. We have UC Davis, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Cruz, UC Merced, UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, UC Riverside, UC Irvine, and of course UC San Diego, which is our neighbor down the street. And many of our students do apply to a variety of these universities. And all of the counselors in our district do support students through this process. And a few of our counselors actually had the opportunity to attend the UC conference on Tuesday of this week. And so we are getting the most up-to-date information in order to support our students as they are completing their applications and answering any questions that they may have. Next slide, please. And just to kind of review for the UC admission requirements, they do have the eligibility requirements, which we all refer to as the A through G requirements. And these courses are specific to the subject areas that the students will need to meet in order to meet eligibility. And our district does align our graduation requirements with the A through G requirements. So many of our students who are working towards meeting their high school graduation requirements are also on their way to meeting their A through G requirements as well. And as you can see, students have to complete 15 courses with a grade of a C or higher across the A through G subject areas, including history, English, math, lab science, a language other than English, a visual and performing art, and then a college prep elective, which any course beyond the amount of years that are required in one of these categories would automatically default to that college prep elective category. We do get that question a lot. There is a minimum GPA for applying to the UC schools, which is a 3.0 or higher, and Mary Jane will go into details about that. And the UC system is also test-free, meaning that they do not review SAT or ACT scores as part of the admission process. And again, there is a difference between eligibility requirements and selectivity. And obviously selectivity is going to vary by campus. And Mary Jane will go into more detail about that process and what that looks like. Next slide, please. But some of the factors that are considered in the UC admissions comprehensive review, the factors that are prioritized during the application process is, of course, they're looking at a student's GPA. They're also going to review a student's transcript in terms of coursework and the specialized courses meeting those A through G requirements, number of courses taken beyond what was required. They do take into consideration the courses that seniors are taking in their senior year, even though they don't currently have grades, obviously, until the first semester. But they do want to see which courses are in progress. So it is important that your students are listing their 12th grade classes within their application. They do take into consideration their responses to those personal insight questions, which we will go into more detail further in this presentation. And they're also going to take into consideration more of those context pieces, the special talents, achievements, circumstances, any experiences that students have had participating in any types of programs outside of school. So it is that comprehensive review process. So they are taking things into consideration outside of just looking at students' grades and GPA. So to go further into the details of the UC application, next slide, please. I'm going to hand it over to Mary Jane from UCSD.
Mary Jane, are you there? We may just go ahead and skip to Cal State until Mary Jane is able to join us. So Joel, if you don't mind switching down to slide number, let's see, number 39. And Mary Jane, let us know when you're able and we can go back to UCSD and the UC system. Thank you, Chanel, for introducing the UC system. We'll be right back on that. While we're waiting, Rosa, are you available to present on the Cal State system?
I am here. I'm available.
Okay. Great. Thank you. You can turn on your camera. I'm going to just introduce a few slides and then I'll hand it over to you if that's okay. So next slide, Joel. Each year we like to do this. The Cal States have 23 campuses across the state of California. A lot of our families and students know about maybe 5 of them, unless you're like us and you could name them all in alphabetical order, because that's what we pride ourselves in knowing the college options for our students. But this year we have a little game of which Cal State campus And so I'll quickly go through these and not take up too much time. So Joel, I think you may have to click enter for each one.
And while he's doing that, it's not allowing me to put my camera on. It says the host has stopped it.
Oh, okay. We can change that for you. Joel, can you look at that while I go through these slides? So this campus is the second oldest Cal State campus, founded in 1887, is known for its acclaimed College of Engineering, Computer Science, Construction Management programs, has an 800-acre farm just for their campus and their agriculture majors. So this gives you a hint of what part of California this may be in. And then is called one of America's best bike towns by Outdoor Magazine. And if you had guessed, do you know which campus this is, Rosa?
I do not.
Okay, yes.
I don't want to cheat. Yeah, go ahead.
Next slide, Joel. It is, the suspense is coming, Chico State. It's a beautiful campus, very fun, very vibrant, very college town. It's kind of far from us, but I encourage you to visit if your student is at all interested in some of the things we just talked about. Okay, the next slide. I know I want to get to Rosa because there's a lot of information. So which Cal State campus, if you don't mind clicking, is the youngest Cal State campus, so opposite end of the spectrum, opening in 2002. It's known for its small class size. It has a nursing program that ranks 11th in California, so that's pretty awesome. It also offers majors in health sciences, business, engineering, computer science, education, and it does have a dolphin mascot. Anyone know which this one is? I can hear you all saying it. It is. Are you ready? Next slide. Cal State Channel Islands, right near Ventura, so kind of more central California. We're hoping this can give some exposure to some campuses we may not hear about every day. But we would love Rosa to go into more of the information in general about the Cal State application. Cal State San Marcos, we are part of the Cal State San Marcos Alliance, which means our students have a special relationship with the admissions office at Cal State San Marcos, and they support us in a lot of different ways. So Rosa, take it on from here. And next slide, Joel. Thank you so much for being here, Rosa.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, Jamie. And thank you all for coming this evening. Like Jamie said, my name is Rosa Barr Williams. I am one of the recruitment and outreach officers here at Cal State San Marcos. And you can go to the next slide, Joe. And we're going to talk a little bit today about Cal State San Marcos, also about the application process to all of our 23 CSUs. And if you need to get a hold of me, that is my information right there. You can go to the next slide, Joe. Okay, again, like I said, we're going to be talking about the admissions application, the CSU admissions application, and a little bit about just the CSUs in general. Next slide. So as you all know that we have one single application for all of our 23 schools. It is calstate.edu/apply. That is where you're going to go if you are a senior. It's opening up for you on October 1. It is one application for all the CSUs. Next slide, please. And here's a list of all of our 23 CSUs. So if you're not sure like what CSU you want to apply to, here's the list. You can always go to the website as well and just take a look at to see what they're offering. But I just suggest that if you are interested in any of the CSUs, please try to take a campus tour, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Next slide. Okay, so when you apply to any of the CSUs, what some of the expectations for your admission process is, you definitely will have to start with completing a Cal State Apply application. Like I said, it is one, you just add any of the schools that you are interested in. If you add more than one school, then it's going to be $70 per campus. So unless you have a fee waiver, and that is for students, once you complete the application, we'll get a little bit more into that when we get to the towards the end of the presentation. But if you are if you receive a fee waiver, depending on what the household income is, then you get up to 4 free campuses. So you can add up to 4 schools under the CSU, and if you add a 5th school, then it's $70. So I hope that makes sense. Then you have to submit your transcript. And also, once you submit transcripts, of course, any school that you register for is going to have an orientation process. So definitely mandatory orientations for the CSUs. Also, very, very important, if you are applying to more than one CSU, definitely know the deadlines. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's going to come up a lot. Deadlines, because all of them open on October 1, but all of them may not close on November 30th. So definitely know the deadlines of all the schools that you're going to, and check your email regularly. Okay, Joe, you can go to the next one. All right, when you get ready to do your Cal State Apply application, this is just a guide to help you all get through it a lot easier. If you sit down to do your application, please have your transcripts available. They don't have to be official. You can have a copy of your transcripts. Know your social security number. Trust me when I'm saying all these things is going to make it a lot easier for you to get through your application. Know if you're a citizen or not. Some students call them like, what is that? Just if you're not sure, then ask your parents. They will be able to help you as well. Have your credit card, because if you don't, if you're unable to get the fee waiver, then you'll definitely have to pay the $70 or more, depending on how many schools that you have. Also, one of the questions is going to ask about your annual income, and that is, if you're a dependent, know what your parents make. That's going to determine whether you qualify for those free schools or not. So that's one of the questions as well. Educational program, any extracurricular activities that you all doing, if you're working, have all of that information available. Any test scores, we'll talk a lot about that. And know your California statewide student ID. And if you're coming from any public school in California, you will have that. And last but not least, if you are applying to EOP, have that information available. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, Joe. Okay, so if you are interested in applying to EOP, because it's going to be one of the questions as well, make sure you say that you will apply to EOP. But what is it? Some students may not even understand what that is. So it's designed to help low-income first-gen and disadvantaged students succeed academically in college and graduate. If you're not sure if you're a first generation, you can just ask your parents if they went to college or not. If they say no, then you meet that criteria as being a first gen. So it is definitely there for you all to apply. If you're not sure, you can apply anyway. But that comes with some other additional things to do. It is one of the questions within the Cal State Apply application. Next slide, Joe. All right, so let's talk more about completing your freshman application and what that looks like. Next slide. So when you go to the Cal State Apply, calstate.edu/apply website, this is a little bit of what it's going to look like. It's going to ask you to select the term. You're going to be doing this, most of you all, if you do it between October and November, it's going to be 2024, but you want to make sure you select fall 25, because if you're a senior and you're sitting there ready to apply, that is the time you want to come into the CSU. So make sure you click that. They may have other dates there, but it's going to be a drop down. So go ahead on and click that. Next slide. All right, so once you select the term in which you're going to be applying, it's going to ask you to create an account. So to create an account, you just need to have an email address, and definitely do not, I would say do not use your high school email address, because once you graduate, we'll still be contacting you probably through your email address. If you don't have a personal one, go ahead and create a new one just for your school stuff, and make sure you check that on a regular basis, because this is going to be the way that any of the CSUs is going to reach out to you. So make sure you create an email and something that you're going to check each and every day with a username and password that you can remember. Next slide. I'm trying to get through all these slides really, really quick. For your extended profile, this to me is very, very important. When you are doing your extended profile, depending on what you put in here is going to dictate the whole application. Because we get a lot of students that say, hey, they're asking me to send in a college transcript, and I didn't even take any college courses. And when I go back and look at their extended profile, more than likely they checked that they took college courses. So depending on what you put in your extended profile, it's going to dictate any of the whole rest of the application based on what it's going to ask. And I know some of you all are like, okay, well, if I'm not sure what to apply for, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Next slide, Joe. We got you covered. Cal State San Marcos in itself does a lot. We do what's called virtual drop-ins between October and December for our application clinic. So it's just about the application. And trust me, all of our 23 CSUs fall under the same umbrella. Those are our sister schools. We love them. So even if you're not applying to Cal State San Marcos, you can still come to our virtual drop-ins. We are there to help you. So don't even think like, oh, I'm not going to come because I'm not applying to them. Like I said, we are all under the same umbrella. Next slide, Joe. So once you create your username and password and you get in to do that extended profile, then it's going to ask you what major. So once you select your major, then it's going to have a drop down of all the schools that have that major. So make sure you know what schools you want to apply to under that. If you are a senior graduating high school, you're going to be considered an undergraduate. We get that question a lot where students may or may not know if they're graduate versus undergraduate. So you're going to be considered an undergraduate student. If you're not sure of what your major is going to be, we also have undeclared and undecided options for you too. And it's not, depending on what schools you apply to, it shouldn't affect your outcome of getting into that school or not. Mainly, it's about the impacted programs, and we can talk a little bit about that if you all have questions too. Next slide. So the application is going to come into, after you finish doing all that, the application is going to have 4 quadrants to it. And pretty much the first one is your personal information. That's kind of self-explanatory. You know your personal information. You know when they ask you what to put in there. It is the academic history, supporting information, and the program materials, what I want to hone in on this evening. So once you do your personal information, that first quadrant, it's going to turn green. That means you are complete. If it's not green, then that means you've missed something and you would need to go back and fill that in. But like I said, if you want help from us and you come to our virtual presentations for the application, then we would want you to have that personal information completed because most of the questions come from the academic history. Next slide, and we're going to get ready to get into that. So like I was saying earlier, it's going to be $70 per campus unless you have the fee waiver. And this is a little bit of what it's going to look like towards the end. So you'll see the red box at the bottom where it has the 70. So depending on how many schools you have in there, if you have 2, it's going to say 140, 3, and so on and so on. So that's kind of gives you a idea of what it's going to look like once you finish. Next slide. Okay, so this is, like I said, quadrant 1. It's just going to ask by, like your contact information, race, parents' information, all that information that you should know. If you're not sure, like I said, have your parents sit next to you when you're filling it out. It sometimes makes it easy as well because you're going to have to know your social security number. Most students may or may not know that. So have that information available. First quadrant, personal information, you're going to go through that one pretty quick. Next slide. And the second quadrant is your academic history. And this is where we have a lot of questions from our students. So it's going to ask about the high schools you attended, your academic information, whether that high school is on semesters, whether it's on quarters, whether it's on trimesters. So hopefully you will know what your high school is on. Makes it much easier when you're trying to put this information in. Also, if you have that transcript that we were just talking about earlier, if you have your high school coursework listed, it's going to be a breeze to get through this. Any standardized testing that you may or may not have taken, you can have those or not. We'll talk about that too. And then it'll match up with your A through Gs, because I know Chanel said earlier about when she was talking about the UCs, about the A through Gs, we also use that same criteria. Next slide. Okay, so this is a little bit of what it's going to look like. You're going to click on where the plus sign is to add your high school. Now, this is very important because a lot of times students may say, hey, I go to, I don't know, La Jolla High School, but they don't put like the state. They just list the school. Well, it could be La Jolla High School in Texas, or it could be a La Jolla High School in 3 other cities in California. So make sure you put the city and state that school is from. Then it's going to have a drop down list where all of those schools that's in that state and city will come up, and then you can select yours, which makes it a lot easy, because if it matches that way, it's going to be easier to recognize that school and to put that coursework in. And make sure you do not skip any of this, because honestly, when you all skip stuff, it makes it more work on me and my colleagues. So we want you to definitely put in all of your information for that. And for 2, we have an automated process here. So if you skip information, then the automated process won't be able to pick stuff up. And then it has to come to someone like myself who does applications, or my colleagues. It's going to take longer for you to hear back. So if you want to hear back sooner, make sure you fill in everything it's asking you to fill in to your best knowledge, okay? So put in your start date. You know, if you're coming in if you're a senior now, you might have started in, I don't know, 2020, 2021. A lot of students don't know that. So make sure you put in all of that and use your term guide. If your high school, like I said, is on semesters, select semesters. It'll make it easier. Next slide. All right, so this section will only appear when you did that external information at the beginning. If you selected that you took college courses, then this will come. If you didn't, then it won't. So this is only for students who may have done some college courses. If it comes up and you know you didn't do college courses, you may want to go back and make those changes before you submit it, okay? Next slide. So high school coursework, complete this section carefully. Once you put in your information, like I was saying, it may delay the admissions decision if you skip something. So if you put in, you took English in 9th grade, but you forgot to put your grades in there, then it's going to come to me where I'm going to have to do it manually. And with that, it's going to slow the process down. So if you have somebody who did their application and they found out a whole month before you, it's probably because they put all the information in and you may have skipped something. So make sure that's very important. Just make sure you try not to. And we'd rather for you to call us, ask us for information, or ask us the question than to just submit it and you're not sure if it's correct. Okay, I'd rather take a look at it than not. All right. And all high school courses, like I said, has to satisfy our A through G requirements. You don't have to necessarily put your non-college prep courses on there, but if you're not sure what those are, my rule of thumb is just put everything on your application as it appears on your transcript. So just go line by line and put that information in. The only time you would need the middle school coursework is if you took, let's say you took foreign language Spanish in 8th grade, Spanish 1 in 8th grade, and maybe Spanish 9 excuse me, Spanish 2 in 9th grade. So we'll only see if we see your high school stuff that you only took Spanish for 1 year when you actually need 2. So you may have to put middle school coursework on there. That's only if you took something that is part of your A through G that is on your middle school application. So, and it normally only is for like language or math. Okay, next. All right, and this is kind of what it's going to look like if you have to do your 7th or 8th grade and put any of that information in. If you don't even worry about it. Just start with 9th grade. So you're going to just select 9th grade, look at your transcript. Once you select the 9th grade, you're going to add the school in which you took those courses at. Normally, if you only have one high school, only one high school will be up there. It's normally for those who have multiple schools. And then you're going to put what year you were in a 9th grade and just add all your courses from that. So you're just going to continue to keep adding. You can go to the next slide. Continue to just keep adding, like, continue all the courses that you took in 9th grade. So when I was saying, make sure you put your school, make sure the state and the city is correct. This is kind of an example of that. So we have a school here that's on semesters. This student went in 9th grade, and he or she was in 9th grade from 2017 to 2018. Now they are starting to write English in the title because they're getting ready to put all their courses in that they took in 9th grade. And because that school comes up, it's going to drop down all of the English courses that's in that school. Makes it much easier for you to just go and select. If you took AP courses, please select that one. Don't just go and say, oh, 9th grade English. And it was like, wait a minute, but you took AP 9th grade English. So make sure you select exactly what you took, hit that green check, and go to the next one. And you can go in and put your sciences in. Then you can go in and put whatever other courses you took in 9th grade. Next slide. Next slide. And so let me just tell you how important this part is. Most of the times when seniors are filling out their applications, sometimes they will not put their senior courses in there. And I think a lot of it has to do with they're saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm not done with that course. So why do they need to know that? We need to know that because we actually assess your application on a basics where we're just getting this information from you. We haven't looked at no one's transcripts. We haven't looked at any transcripts at all. So we're just going off of the honor system. We need to know what you are sitting in. So you looked at your transcript and you put in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade courses. If you are currently sitting in something, you need to put those in under your 12th grade, and they need to be for fall to say in progress. So if you do this application after fall, then you will probably have fall grades. And then you can put spring as in progress, but most of the time it's going to fall under fall in progress. And then what you're taking in the spring is going to fall under planned. So we'll know, we can see what you're taking. We just assume you're going to pass it with a C or better. And then we're going to assess your application based on that. If your application comes in and you have no senior grades, then we have to, or no senior courses in there, then we're probably going to have to deny your application because you're telling us you're done in 11th grade pretty much. And most of the time, if you're done in 11th grade, you haven't met all of the A through G's. Okay, so that's very important to know. And again, you can definitely call us. We can have that Zoom with you and we can go over it one-on-one. Next slide. Okay, standardized tests. We don't necessarily accept ACTs, SATs, but you can put them in our application. If you put them on your application, then they're going to be there for placement. We're going to place you based on your math and your English if that's what you put in there. But you do not have to. That's not going to be included in determining your admissions to any of the CSUs. You don't have to do your ACTs or SATs. But some students do, because we know that, they're applying to other schools, maybe outside of the CSUs. So definitely, if you've taken them, put them on there. You do not have to have any of those. If you have any other standardized tests, though, put all of that information in, even those AP scores that you would have taken if you took AP courses. Okay, next slide. Okay, and here's an example of the A through G matching. So once you put in all of your coursework from the time you started in 9th grade to your senior year, it's going to drop down at the end and say, hey, all of your A's, you need 2 years. So it's going to be in parentheses what you need. When you look over and see your years, it should match up, or maybe sometime it's going to be a little bit more. So if you took a 3rd year of history or social science, then it'll say 3 years. But as long as you have what you need to meet within those parentheses, then you should be fine. If it's not, then go through and make sure you have everything, or stop what you're doing and call us. Okay, you can go to the next slide. All right, so this is the 3rd quadrant, and this is just your supporting information. And they've changed this up a little bit. You can go to the next slide, Joe. They changed this up a little bit. So instead of it just having that educational program and work experience, it's also going to ask you about your EOP application. If you are military connected, your DD 214. If you're coming in as a transfer student, do you have an ADT, and any of your achievement and experiences, and that part is optional. But just in case you are applying to some schools that need to see that, for us, nursing will probably be the only one that really want to look at your achievement and any experiences that you've done, because they want to, accept the best of the best here. You can go to the next slide. So that changed a little bit. That's where you're going to put that information in. And this is the EOP where we talked about that earlier. So if you're going to apply to EOP, definitely click yes, and then it's going to open up and ask you some other questions. If you have no interest in applying to EOP, then just simply say no, and then it's going to bypass that. So if you say yes, please have, you're going to need 2, you go to the next slide. You're going to need 2 references. So make sure you have at least 2 people that will give you a good reference. It's going to ask you for your some biographical questions, your parents' information, and just some general questions. So have all that information available so you can, like I said, get through this application quick. And it does sound like, you can go to the next slide. It does sound like a lot, but once you get in there, you're going to understand it a lot better. So this is quadrant 4, the last quadrant. It's only 4 quadrants, like I was saying earlier. It's just going to ask the program material. What you're going to enter here is any financial aid housing questions, any prerequisites you have, questions for your impacted programs. So all of that information is going to go into this one quadrant. We used to just have like 1 question for Cal State San Marcos, and that was through our nursing department. But now they've changed it up. The Chancellor's office changed up the app just a tad bit, and this is one of the changes. So that may look different for those who are maybe familiar with the application. You can go to the next slide. So depending on your campus and your major you choose, there may be required items to complete, and that's that part of the program where the quadrant 4 that we were talking about. All of them may not have a lot of stuff in the program material, but just in case, click on that and answer any questions depending on what campuses you apply to. Next slide. Okay, and so if you look at the bottom where the quadrants right here for your personal, academic, supporting, and program information, those are complete. All 4 quadrants should look like the green. So if they're all green, you're going to be good to go. That means your application is complete. If something is not all the way green, like the top 2, the personal information and academic history, then you have to go back in and make sure you complete every question it's asking you so that they can turn green and you'll be able to complete your application. Okay, if you did not finish your EOP, it still will allow you to submit your application. So that portion doesn't necessarily need to be 100% completed for that to turn green. You can go to the next slide. All right, once they are green, you are ready to submit your application. Like I said, you go to the next slide. You're going to submit your application. If you get the 4, then you will have the 4 for free. You can keep going. Is that it? Okay. And this is just a little information about our school. For those who don't know, we are your nearest Cal State University. As Jamie was saying, we are technically in North County with you all right off of the 78. And San Marcos has been ranked one of the safest cities in California. So who wouldn't want to come to a school that has, they're safe, that is safest? So definitely think about us. You can go to the next slide. When you are applying, think about Cal State San Marcos. Any school is our sister school. We are okay with that as well under the CSU. Right now, we have over 15,000 students. Over 2,000 of those students live on campus. We are currently building a dorm right now that's going to house over 600 students or more. So right up the street, we're right in your back corner. Definitely think about us. Our average GPA has been a 3.0. If you're thinking about nursing, which is one of our impacted programs, need to at least have, I would say, a 4.0 or above. And we do have 65% of our students or more that apply are admitted into Cal State San Marcos. And we are also an HSI school, a Hispanic Servant Institution. 50% of our students identify as Latinx. You can go to the next slide. I think that might be it. Okay, so I wanted to go because I showed this slide earlier, but I wanted you all to know that if you want to take a campus tour, we have them Monday through Fridays and some Saturdays, definitely. If you are interested in Cal State San Marcos, please come take a look at our school. If it's not Cal State San Marcos, any of our CSUs, try to go and take a campus tour. That's going to be definitely one of your big decisions when it's time to start narrowing down what schools you want to go to. If you step foot on this campus, then you'll have that much more information and insight on that. Again, virtue drop-in hours. We would love to see you. Discover CSUSM is on October 26th. So we would definitely love to see you for that day too. You can go to the next slide. And this is just to stay in touch with us. Again, my name is Rosa Barr Williams. I'm in the Office of Recruitment and Outreach, and I would love to hear from any of you all if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Wow, Rosa, that was impressive. You covered a lot of information in a quick amount of time. And what's also impressive is the questions that came in. You guys are asking very good questions. Thank you for paying great attention and asking. Hopefully we're answering them and it's helpful to you. So Joel, if you don't mind going back to slide 11, and I know we just kind of touched on the Cal State application system. Before I have Mary Jane speak on the UC system, I had a quick question for you, Rosa, if you don't mind. 2 things specific. Can juniors come to the Discover Cal State San Marcos Day on October 26th? And can students submit standardized test scores to Cal States after they submit their application for placement purposes?
So for the first question, yes, it is for any new students, anybody. It's open for everybody, actually. So whether you are a first-time freshman or a transfer student, we would love to have you. Bring mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whoever. It is free and it's open for any and everybody. As far as submitting your scores, yes. If you submit the application and then you take some tests, then you can definitely send us an email and you'll be able to send those scores into us and we'll add them to your application.
Okay, perfect. All right, now switching gears, at the end, we will do some general questions. So we'll circle back on the Cal State application as well. But Mary Jane Chin, I'm so excited to introduce you. I'm so sorry about the technology issues earlier. Those were our fault on our end, not Mary Jane's. And I know a lot of our students are very interested in the UC system, specifically UC San Diego, which I learned yesterday had a crazy large number of applicants last fall. So welcome, Mary Jane. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And we will be answering questions if you, on the background, if you want to ask them while she's presenting. Thanks, Mary Jane.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I'm going to go over the slides fairly quickly, so hopefully we can have enough time at the end for questions. So this first slide just shows all of our UC campuses. There are 9 UC campuses. You're all welcome to apply to all 9 if you'd like. We encourage you to apply to multiple UC campuses. It's one application for all the UC campuses. So You know, try not to just apply to one or two, try to keep your options open, apply to all, you know, multiple UC campuses. And next slide, please. So this is just a rough timeline of our University of California admission cycle. August 1st, the application opened. So many of you may have already started your application. That's great. If you haven't, you still have a lot of time. There's no rush. You turn in the application anytime between October 1st and December 2nd. So December 2nd is a new deadline this year for fall 25 students. So you have a couple more days this year to complete your application. And that's because November 30th falls on a Saturday this year. So December 2nd is the deadline. Again, you have a lot of time to work on the application. You can turn it in, a completed application, as early as October 1st. And then the last day to turn it in is December 2nd. We encourage you to apply for the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application between December and March 2nd. The FAFSA changed last year, so it's supposed to be streamlined and a little bit better, a little easier to fill out. March is when all the UC campuses release decisions. So you'll get individual decisions from all the UC campuses. You'll have your own applicant portal for all the different UC campuses that you apply to. So you'll hear anywhere from early March all the way to the end of March from the different UC campuses. And the May 1st deadline is a hard deadline. So make sure you meet that May 1st deadline to accept the offer from one UC campus. So if you've been admitted to multiple UC campuses, you can only accept the offer from one UC campus, okay? And July is a very important month. That's when you're going to be submitting your official high school transcripts, your official test scores. July 1st is the deadline for official high school transcripts. And then July 15th is the official deadline for test scores. Next slide, please. So before you start, consider all the different campuses, the different majors. Our campus has over 160 majors. Overall, the entire UC campus system has over 600 majors. So there's a lot of academic programs that you can apply to, and make sure you have an unofficial copy of your transcript so that you're entering all the information accurately and correctly. Do not go by memory. Because you need to be as accurate as possible on the UC application. So if we see discrepancies, there could be an issue with falsification or something like that. So make sure you have your transcript and enter all the grades and courses correctly. Hopefully you've been keeping track of your different leadership roles, activities, awards, volunteer experience, etc. There are multiple sections in the UC application where you can enter all this information. And it's great for us to see how, well-rounded you are, how you've been involved throughout your high school career. We like to see well-rounded students. So we're not just focusing on grades. We're looking at a fully well-rounded student. And I'm gonna, in the chat, you should, right? So in the chat, you should see a link that shows how the different UC campuses review first-year applicants. So when you have some time, feel free to browse that. And the next slide shows navigating the UC application. You don't have to complete it in one sitting. There are 7 different sections in the application. Next slide. And this is a little snippet of UC San Diego. So we're one of the top 10 public universities in the world. We're very close to the beach. Many of you may have visited our campus and you can see how big it is. We have a lot of research funding. We have $1.76 billion in research funding. So you're going to be able to find a lot of opportunities to do research, internships. We have well-known faculty who do a lot of research, so they really appreciate our students who help them with their research, and you'll gain a lot of valuable experience that way. Next slide. And as locals, you know, we're in one of the best cities in the country. So this is just a snippet of, you know, how big we are. We're about 1,200 acres. We're right near the beach. We have great weather. We're the second largest city, right behind Los Angeles. And next slide. And more statistics. We're, you know, number 6 in the top value college as far as the Princeton Review is concerned. I don't know if you can see it, but the top employers that our students get hired from are like Amazon, Google, TikTok, Microsoft, Apple. So it's a great way to get into your first-time career. And the next slide will show, again, the numbers here. We're one of the larger UC campuses. We have over 33,700 undergraduate students. About 67% are first year and 33% are transfer students of new students coming in. So when you apply, you know, you're gonna, like I mentioned, apply to multiple UC campuses. So you just don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, next slide. The average time for first year students to get their UC San Diego degree is about 4 years. And that's typical across most of the UC campuses. If you're a transfer student coming in as a junior, the average time is about 2.2 years. Many students finish, you know, less than 4 years as a first year student. Many students who are transfer students can finish within 2 years. So the classes, we have a lot of classes that are available to students. You won't have to, you know, take 5 or 6 years to graduate. And next slide. And this is the rough financing your education. So for our campus, and this is going to be typical across the board for all the UCs, tuition is about $19,000. That includes tuition, campus fees, other fees involved in being a student here. So this is the annual cost. There's a tuition stability plan across all the UC campuses. So you'll be able to pay the same tuition for up to 6 years. If you live at home, you can save a little bit of money. You're welcome to live at home if you'd like. You don't have to live on campus, but we highly encourage it if you can. Housing is about $18,500 to live on campus, and you're guaranteed 2 years of on-campus housing. So adding up all the expenses, you know, the middle column is about $42,600 for living on campus. If you want to live at home, that's totally fine too. You'll just have to deal with traffic and coming on to campus. And next slide. So we encourage you to apply for financial aid starting in December through the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act. About 70% of our UC San Diego students are receiving some form of financial support. That would be grants, work study. Many of our students also receive loans as well. And next slide. So the personal insight questions are an integral part of the UC application. So we want you to take your time. There are 8 questions and you choose any 4 to answer. So you can answer any 4. These are not long essays, or they're more like mini essays. So this is a great way for us to get to know you beyond the grades, beyond the classroom. So this is where you can really show your passion. Give us a little more information about you, because we don't do interviews and we don't take letters of recommendations. So this is the best way for us to get to know the applicant beyond the classroom. So the maximum is 350 words. That's not a lot. So you'll need to, you know, adjust it or edit it. And again, you still have a lot of time to work on this. So you don't want to be rushed on this. And the next slide. So again, work on your PIQ responses in a timely manner. You know, take your time. You use a separate document to create that personal insight question response. You know, a Google document or a Word document, and then copy and paste it onto the UC application. Because if you try to answer it on the UC application, it times out around 20 minutes, and it's not saving. So make sure you're creating your responses in a separate document and then just copy and paste it onto the UC application. Next slide, please. And again, regarding the personal insight questions, you can add additional comments to this. It's a maximum 550. And then the next slide is just some guides on, what the additional comment section is for. It's an opportunity for you to give us more details about yourself that can't be found in other parts of the application. There's an academic history, additional comments, and then additional comments after the PIQs. You don't have to fill out the additional comments section. If you leave it blank, it's totally fine. Do not use the additional comments space to don't treat it as a fifth PIQ response. Don't give us links or portfolios or resumes in there. We're not going to be able to read it. Don't use it as an opportunity, to try to impress the reader by posting, a short story or poem. Again, we're not going to use that in the admission decision. Okay, so these are good, helpful hints. Next slide, please. Again, more about the PIQ. Use your own natural voice, writing style. Be as succinct as possible, write directly and literally. It's not a creative writing essay. We don't want to see that. We just want to get to know you a little bit better. And this is the best way for you to do that. There's no right or wrong answer. Avoid repeating information that's already been shared in other parts of the application or other parts of the PIQ responses. Okay, next slide. And so here's a scan or a QR code where you can get more helpful tips. And this should be on the recorded section, so you'll be able to go back to this later on. Next slide, please. The campus major and majors, again, choose your colleges and majors. You can have any major. You don't have to have the same major for any of the colleges, for all the colleges. You can have different majors for each of the campuses. All the UC campuses offer the undeclared, undecided option. And the next slide shows the category view. So if you don't know specifically which UC campus offers which majors, you can look at the category view. And then the next slide shows alternate majors. All the UC campuses will want you to list an alternate major because many of the majors across the UC system are selective, or some campuses call them capped or impacted. So if you're in one of those capped or impacted or selective majors and you list it as your first choice, we encourage you to list an alternate major, preferably a non-capped or non-selective major. Okay, next slide. And this is a little snippet about our campus. We have over 160 majors. Our selective majors are listed in the bottom right. The selective majors are all of our biological science majors. Our data science major is selective. All of our engineering majors are selective, and public health is selective. So if you want one of those majors, you should definitely list it as your first choice, but also list an alternate major as well, just in case you don't get into the first choice major. These are all of our academic schools. Next slide. And these are our colleges. UC San Diego has 8 colleges now. So when you're applying, you're going to have to rank the 8 colleges in the order that you prefer, 1 being your first choice, 8 being your last choice. So we want you to research the colleges. You can belong to any of the colleges and have any major. Okay. And if you live on campus, you'll live at your college residence hall. Next slide. So on the UC application, you're going to have to rank them. Otherwise, you cannot move forward on the application. So again, 1 being your first choice, 8 being your last choice. It does not affect your admission decision, how you rank the colleges. Next slide. So please feel free to connect with us. We have tours, events. These are the QR codes if you want to subscribe to receive email updates from us. and be on our interest list, feel free to scan these QR codes now or when you go back to the recording of this. And then I think there might be 1 or 2 more slides. Let's see. You can follow us on social media. Next slide. These are all the UC campuses, so feel free to take a snapshot of this and visit each of the 9 UC campus admission requirements. And then I believe there's just 1 or 2 more. And this is first year admission resources. Again, very good resource, helpful information. And then the next slide shows the time frame. So you can call these the phone 800 number during the application deadline. So you can see like December 1st through the 2nd, there will be somebody there until midnight. December 3rd, somebody will be there from 8 to 6 p.m. Okay, next slide. This might be the last one. Oh yeah, perfect. So that was the last one. Sorry, we had to go so quickly. But
yeah, I know we're trying to squeeze a lot of information in 1 hour,
yes.
but the goal here is this is general overview. All of our high schools are offering their own UC, Cal State application workshops and in-person, hands-on, helping our kids like with their Chromebooks in front of them. So please, if you didn't get your question answered, I'm going to go over a few really quickly. I know we're out of time, but we want to just touch on a few things. If you didn't get your question answered, your counselor is there, your college and career techs are there. Please visit your high school counseling office, email your counselors, go in during lunch or break and just check in and ask these questions, schedule an appointment, and take advantage of the opportunities that they're offering at each of the high schools. So this was intended to be a large general overview, and I'm so glad we did it early in the season this year because often we don't get to do it until later, and some of our students have already applied and wish that they had access to this information earlier. So one quick thing I want to share, UC application, Cal State application, seniors only apply in the fall right now. So the UC application's open, the Cal State application opens October 1st. The majors are a lot of questions. So quickly, I just want to go over one more time with you, Mary Jane. If a student applies, depending on the UC campus, they can apply to 2 majors, an alternative major, right? Can you again just reference how that's considered, and it may vary by campus, of looking at the first major versus the alternative major?
Yeah, so each campus is a little bit different. So all the majors, have some type of either like a selective label or capped or impacted. You're probably aware that engineering is probably going to be capped or selective at all the UC campuses. So if you want that as your major, any of the capped majors, make sure you list it as your first choice. You'll be considered for that major from the beginning, and then an alternate major as well. If you don't meet selection for the capped major or the selective major. You can also be admitted undeclared if you don't meet selection for your first choice or your alternate major. It just really depends.
And it is okay to put undeclared if you truly are undeclared. You truly have no idea what major you want to do. If the college offers the undeclared option, it's okay to put it. I know a lot of people get scared to put that. Rosa, for the Cal State application, one major, one program is, they can indicate one program, correct? Oh, you're muted.
Correct, except for nursing. You have to declare 2 majors for nursing, just because if you don't get into that one, then we automatically will assess you based on your second one.
Oh, perfect. There's so many other good questions, and I know we're out of time. I'm going to do one more, which is kind of an overview on, someone asked about AP courses, college coursework. College coursework taken in high school, dual enrollment classes should be reported on the UC and the Cal State application as college coursework. So there's not in the high school section. Our transcripts in our district do not indicate if a course is dual enrollment, and a dual course means it was a high school course is on the high school transcript, and a college course lives in its own land in college land on the college transcript. So you want to report the college coursework name. So I went to MiraCosta College. I took Math 260. That is in the college coursework section. Calculus 3 is not in the high school section. So that's just an example. And as far as is AP better than community college classes, what I heard yesterday in the UC conference was they are treated the same. They're all college credit. AP courses are high school courses that give college credit through that AP exam. So you report the AP course in the high school section because that's a class taught by us. We transcript it. It's our course. If you have any sort of college credit, whether you took the class on your own time or you did a dual enrollment class, that means you have a college transcript. If you have a college transcript, that needs to be reported in the college transcript section. Anything to add to that, Rosa or Mary Jane? No? Okay. There's a lot of other great questions. I wish we had time to answer all of them. Like I said, please reach out to your counselor. Chanel, do you have anything to add that I didn't already say?
No, I think that's everything, but yes, each high school site will be offering senior presentations as well as senior parent nights for our current seniors who are currently in their application process or getting started. So as Jamie said, definitely just reach out to your student's counselor or be on the lookout for that information that'll be coming directly from your student's high school and their counseling programs, because each site does offer their own individual senior presentations to give a lot of the detailed information that's being addressed in the Q&A right now. A lot of that is covered in our FAQs that are probably already posted on our counseling websites. So definitely be checking counseling websites as well, because a lot of the information and resources that are there for our seniors have been posted, and we will be addressing those in the coming months as we support our seniors through this process.
For all of our high schools, San Diego Academy, Canyon Crest Academy, Torrey Pines High School, La Costa Canyon High School. If you search that and you click counseling, and then you'll see on the top it says seniors, there you will find their quick reference guide for how to complete your applications. It'll be line by line. CCA and SDA, you report your classes as semester classes. I know that is so confusing. We get it. They are semester classes. That's what a 4x4 is. So we want to make sure you're reporting, and I linked a few of those in the chat, but you can always search from the high school website. Your SSID, a few people asked about earlier, that's your state, your California state ID. It's a long number. It is not your high school student ID number. You can find that in Aries. If you go to your homepage and click on general on the top, it's right by your picture and it says state ID. So you want to make sure every single student in our district has one listed on Aries that you can find on your own time. You don't have to ask your counselor for that. And then finally, I had one more thing I was going to share, and now I don't remember what it was. It was so important. Okay, well, thank you all for being here, and thank you so much to Mary Jane and to Rosa and to Chanel and Sarah Aklashin, you're back there, and Joel Van Hooser, our Director of Technology, the real hero of the night. Thank you so much for making all this happen. And thank you all for coming, and good luck on your senior applications. We're here to help. Just reach out. Oh, I know what I was going to say. This will all be recorded. This is recorded. The presentation and recording will be posted again, high school counseling websites and our district college and career website and events website. So we will also send it out in an email. So we will not leave you stranded. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.